Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm here with Fred Roberts, former Los Angeles Laker. This will be the inaugural episode of the Forgotten Lakers podcast, where we try to get in touch with some former Lakers and talk about their time with the franchise. So thank you very much again, Fred Roberts, for joining me tonight.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Sure. Well, one of the first things I'm always interested in, especially with former Lakers or former professional basketball players, is your history with the sport, how you got into it, and when you realized, you were significantly better than maybe some of your friends, some of your teammates, and when you definitely realized you had a future in it. If you could go into that.
Well, I guess I remember a time in high school. I'd just gone to, they called it Superstar Camp down in, it was in just north of San Diego. Can't remember. But anyway, was there, and I went there, and I ended up winning the one-on-one tournament and did some other good things and came back. And I remember my dad had me out working in the yard, digging ditches, I think I was doing. And he said, so is this basketball thing? You think you're pretty good? And I says, yeah, I think I'm all right. He says, you think you have a chance to do anything with it? And I says, I don't know. I think I can play college. And he says, huh. So he walked away. And after that, he kind of paid me a little bit more attention, because up till then, my dad, he wasn't much of a sports guy, and he was just a worker, and he kind of felt like that's how we should be. I had 5 brothers, and he had us working, and thought this ball playing stuff was a nice hobby, but you better get yourselves out there and get your work done.
Did any of your brothers play in high school or collegiately?
Yeah, I had, let's see, my older brother played ahead of me at BYU. He was there for a couple of years. And then I had the next older brother played on the JV. This is back when they had JV in the colleges, so he was on the JV team. Then I had a younger brother played it. He was on the team at Las Vegas when they were ranked number 1. I think, can't remember if he was on the team that made the Final Four or the year before that. And then my youngest brother, who ended up having a good career at BYU and played overseas for 5 or 6 years.
So you said you had an older brother who went to BYU. Did his attendance there factor into your decision to go there, or what was your recruitment process like once you started getting recruited in high school?
Well, I think that's really the main factor. I guess I was a BYU fan, but with my brother there, he was the oldest, and my older sister was the oldest, and then my brother, but we always kind of, wanted to be accepted by him, wanted to be around him, and the chance to be able to play on the same team with him, I thought I wanted to do that. And that's kind of the deciding factor of why I went to BYU.
Were you considering any other schools at that time? Were any other schools recruiting you heavily?
Utah, and then I still considered Utah. My dad wanted me to go to Utah because he looked at it and he said he looked at it as an opportunity to get some of his tax money back.
Oh yeah,
and
that makes sense.
And yeah, he that's what he was pulling for. And then let's see, of course all the Utah schools. I took a trip to Cal State Fullerton, and I had some interest there, but we were still back then in Utah. I was from Bingham High School, a little town, and didn't get a lot of exposure. And then I think also teams knew that I had a brother playing at BYU. They felt like that was so. I think I kind of let them know early that was a big factor in why I wanted to stay in state.
So when I was researching this, obviously I knew you had played for the Lakers, Celtics, and Bucks, and being born and raised in Dallas, I vaguely remember when you were on the Mavericks. Then I didn't realize that you had played for the Spurs, and at that time you got to play with George Gervin. So before we move on to the Celtics and Lakers stuff, can you give me your best George Gervin story?
The best George Gervin story. He was so much fun to play with, and I just was going in there as a rookie and after everything he'd accomplished, and think this is probably my best George Gervin story. Is we were on, I don't remember where we were playing. I think maybe Philadelphia, but we got on the bus at the hotel and then driving to the game. And I remember Jimmy Banks, Johnny Moore, Edgar Jones, a couple of the other guys who just back in the back, and they're talking about everything they did in college. He says, I worked that guy in college. I was so good, and I scored 40 points here. I did this and this. The entire trip from the hotel to the arena, which maybe 20 minutes at the most, but they were just yapping, and Gervin just sat back, didn't say a word. We pulled in the arena. Bus came to a stop, and those guys were still yapping. Gervin stood up, said, "Well, I ain't got much to say about college, but I sure worked those boys in the NBA." Everybody just shut up after that. He's had 2 scoring titles, and he just walked off the bus.
Wow, yeah, I enjoy watching his YouTube highlights. Those are something.
Oh, he was great. Yeah, I guess that was a drop the mic moment, what they would call it now these days.
Definitely.
I just saw the other day. I saw Mark Eaton put it on his Facebook clip with Gervin and Pete Maravich playing horse.
Oh, I've seen that as well.
Great.
Yeah, I've watched that on YouTube before. That's so cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was fun. He was just great. He was a character. He just didn't want to do the finger roll. He wanted to do the finger roll, see how high he could throw the ball, get the hot ball up in the air. And I saw him that year break at least 2 noses. Guys get up tight to him, and he'd shoot, and he'd come down with his elbow right across their face.
Did you guard him in practice a lot?
Let's see. I did not a lot in practice. I was always up against Banks, and more before Gervin was playing 2 guard at that point.
Yeah.
Not much defense going on there.
Yeah.
but he could still shoot like crazy.
Yeah. Well, moving on to your stint with the Celtics, you obviously got to play in the 1987 finals versus the Lakers. That was the 3rd time in 4 years that they had met in the NBA Finals in the 80s. Overall, it's considered one of the great rivalries in NBA history. With the vibe in the Celtics locker room and, what the guys were saying, was the hatred for the Lakers, as strong as it is today for Celtics fans? Like, were you all aware of it? Was it talked about at that time?
Well, that was my first year with Boston, and I was just trying to – in my whole – I was just trying to get with the team. I played a year and a half with San Antonio, a year and a half with Utah, and then I go to Boston, and I was just trying to get a team where I could have a career. And so I was not aware of everything that was going on until we get to the playoffs. We get in there, and they talk about they talk about Jabbar and how they hated him, and they hated. So there definitely was some energy and angst going in there, but I think they also knew going into that series that we were pretty, beat up. I guess they didn't. They weren't. We didn't have a bench, as they say. There was no bench, and Casey played those starters the whole year, big minutes, and played them through the playoffs, big minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And which is, I kind of feel like that may be true, and it's probably true, but they didn't do much to develop a bench either. They just they treated us like we were another team,
mm-hmm.
separate from the starters. So that was a little bit tough. But they did, they had some real energy about how they felt about the Lakers for sure. And I remember when Magic hit that hook shot.
Yeah, that baby.
And they,
I think that's Game 4.
Yeah. And they could have ended the series the next game there in Boston. Bird came to practice. He says, "We are not letting these guys win this championship on our court.
Oh, man.
We are not allowing that to happen." And he didn't.
Researching that particular series, everyone talks about McHale was basically playing on a broken foot. Was that something that was well publicized at the time? I mean, or was he just kind of suiting up, not making any excuses, or how did that work out?
Well, we sure knew about it, and I'm not sure what the average person knew or what the press knew. I feel like it was out there because he was always get treatment. He wasn't player that he normally was through the season, or certainly the year before. And so he, we knew about it, and I think I think they had to know, and the Lakers had to know, and they went at him pretty hard. Michael Thompson went in there and I think they played together in college, and so Michael Thompson just went in there and went at him and just beat him up, and Kevin just didn't have the wheels the feet to hang in there.
All right, well, since this is a Laker-oriented process, if it's okay with you, could we go to your season with the Lakers?
Sure.
All right.
It's like most of my career. It's one year and out.
Oh, yeah, well, you had that long stint with Milwaukee, so those are probably your most rewarding years, I would assume.
Yeah, they were, for sure.
Yeah.
And we lived there for 10 years, and so that was kind of that's where I relate to my career to, for sure.
So
but LA was.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, in the fall of '95, what led you to signing with the Lakers? I know you had a short stint with the Cavs the previous season after playing overseas. So, but what led you to signing with the Lakers in the fall of '95?
Well, Del Harris was a coach, and he coached me there in Milwaukee for 4 years, and he was a great coach for me. He really kind of showed a lot of confidence in me, and I just I don't know, I liked him a lot, and so he gave me the opportunity. And when I went there, I felt like I was just there for camp. I didn't expect to stick around, but I felt like I was just going to be there for camp and maybe an opportunity to get someplace else. But they kept me and signed me, so it was great. It was a great opportunity for me to continue my career. I loved playing for Dell. It was exciting to play in LA with the history and the kind of team that they had. It was a funny year. That was the year that, and you probably, when I talk about this, was the year that Magic started. He made his comeback. And
definitely. I wanted to get to that. But then also, it was kind of a unique year in Laker history, even before the Magic's comeback. Just some very popular young players like Eddie Jones, Nick Van Exel, Cedric Ceballos were on the team. And also, it was the year before they got Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. So just kind of definitely a transition period for the franchise.
Yeah.
So you touched on Magic's comeback. Obviously, I was, I think 10 at the time, maybe 9 or 10 that season. And I remember hearing Magic Johnson's coming back. Obviously, I didn't know, how great he was. I knew his name, but that was about it. But was that something was that a possibility the whole season, or did it just come around that, late January, early February, where you guys started hearing that Magic might come back, or did he just show up at practice or one day, or what happened with that?
Well, it was kind of a funny year for us. They had a great year the year before with all those young guys, and they had a great run in the playoffs, and they all had big years. All the young guys, Van Exel and Sabalas, and so. But we came back, and I don't think they had the same intensity, same drive as they had the year before. Even though I wasn't with them, but you tell there's just kind of, hey, we're here. Let's go out and play. But Magic started hanging around, and he'd play pickup games after practice and work out with us, and he was there a lot. And I think that started the talk going, and they'll see him out there, and we were struggling a little, and I thought, well, maybe this is something that we can talk about. And I'm sure they had conversations with Magic, say, well, what do you think? You think you can get in play? And so he started working out with us more and then showing up to practice, and instead of just doing after practice, we're working out with pickup games. And so he started practicing with us, and that started the rumors going even more. And then it kind of became a distraction, which we were already a bunch of young guys distracted.
Yeah, I would think so. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, it definitely was. There's no question it was a distraction, and but everybody thought that it was going to be save our season, and Magic's going to come back, and he's going to just take us to the next level. And it would have been 4 years earlier, 5 years earlier, it probably would have.
Yeah.
But at that point in his career, and having sat out, I don't even know how many years he sat out, but
I think that when
he
he came
sat
back,
out.
he'd been out for like 4.5, I believe.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. I mean, I think all of us think in our brains, in our minds, we could do that,
Yeah.
but it's such a different level when you've played that level every year after year after year. And then to sit out and think you can come back, you're not going to come back the same. And he didn't. He
Hmm.
helped us. He did some good things, but he wasn't the same player. And he kind of dominated the ball. And next thing you know, so we all started standing around watching him. And it didn't do what we'd hoped it would do. It wasn't his fault. I just think we had a young team with guys that lost a lot of focus from the year before.
Could you sense a lot of frustration on the part of like maybe Nick Van Exel or Cedric Ceballos, guys who had been, kind of like the quote unquote, main stars on the team, that maybe they thought Magic was going to come over and, come back and dominate the ball, dominate the headlines, and take away from what they were doing? Was that something you could sense like immediately, or did that develop slowly?
Oh, gosh. I didn't really know. I'm sure it did. I'm sure it was confusing for them. With me, I was a new guy, and they were good to me. They treated me well, but I don't think I was in on all the subtleties that were happening with the various personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed all that. I was just trying to, I just learned that every year I played, I was trying to just hang on and be a player. I never felt like I was on a team to stay. I always felt like the next practice they'd let me go. And so that's where my focus was, and I missed all the subtleties of these guys who were pretty secure and settled in on the team and knew they were going to be around. I was kind of the guy that stayed after and played pickup games.
Yeah. Well, you must have been doing something right. I mean, you played for, like 13 years, I believe. So it's definitely longer than the average career for sure.
Yeah, well, I think with my game, I just figured if I stay ready, stay in shape, and when it was my turn to get in the game, make sure I was positive things, what the coach wanted me to do. They didn't expect me to go out and score 30 points for sure, but they wanted me to play hard, defend, and move the ball, follow the game plan, which I knew I could do. Also, I learned early that, you're going to get a chance. Just never know when that chance comes. You could sit the bench for 3-4 games in a row, and then all of a sudden, the fifth game, somebody gets hurt or somebody's in foul trouble. And I learned early that opportunity was going to be there. When that came, you had to be ready.
Like I said earlier, I have your card right in front of me, and I wanted to ask if this was true, that you had twice announced retirement only to be summoned back to the NBA. Had you, retired from the game either through the NBA or overseas, but then were called back by one team or another?
I never, I've announced my retirement. I would never announce my retirement. If somebody took me right now, I'd go try and play.
Okay.
But it was what happened. Toward the end of my career, I did. And I went overseas, came back, played the Cleveland Lakers. I don't even know how. Oh yeah, that's what happened. So I went overseas, came back, and I wasn't picked up. So I went the CBA route, and I played a few games there, and I actually got hurt, tore a rotator cuff. But then I had a chance to go to Europe. A team in France wanted me, and so I went there, and I got over. Made it 10 days. They were going to trade me out for another player, kid from Houston who was a really good player, great player over there, and then they decided they were going to keep him, so they sent me. So I came home, and then that's when I got picked up by Cleveland, and the team the CBA team, there's some deal that if you get picked up, they get money. So I don't know what happened there. They were mad at me, or they were trying to get money, and so they announced some things. I don't know exactly what happened, but myself, I always just wanted to play. I never said, "Hey, I'm done with this."
Yeah.
Wasn't that kind of a player. I said, "Oh yeah. By the way, I'm retiring." I said, "Wait a minute, you're not retiring. You're fired.
Oh
We
yeah.
don't want you anymore."
So you might be aware of this. Are you aware that you're the only player who was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson's teammate?
Yeah. Trust me, I use that a lot.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah, like I said, I've followed the NBA forever, and so I knew you were on the Celtics. I knew you were on the Lakers, and I started thinking to myself, I couldn't think of another player who would have been both their teammates, and I finally found it online that it actually was true. So I was glad I was right about that. I guess there's just too much of a gap in his retirement and comeback for anybody else to really kind of bridge that gap.
Yeah, and you don't see a lot of guys going from, especially then, the Lakers to Celtics to
Sure.
Lakers.
Yeah,
They weren't trading buddies.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Those two teams.
So do you follow today's game very closely? Any particular players or teams?
Well, I still have. It's been really nice to still have a connection with Milwaukee. I'm been able to go back there and do a couple of things with that team and with this city. So I've liked that a lot. So I'm hoping they do well.
Mm-hmm.
The Jazz, I'm able to see them quite a bit here.
Mm-hmm.
But and of course, who doesn't? I mean, you watch Golden State, you can't help but be impressed with everything they do. Gosh, just an incredible team. But it's certainly a different game. Oh my goodness, I watched our playoffs when I was at Boston against the Lakers. I watched those games. Whoa, that's quite a bit different than what's going on now. It's so much faster, and everybody's built like Karl Malone now, and they all can run, they move, and the shooting.
Well, I was actually, reviewing when you mentioned shooting, and I was reviewing your career statistics. You had made like over 50 threes in your career, which at the time was, you're 6'10", so there weren't too many guys your size shooting a lot of threes. Was that a part of your game you developed? There probably wasn't a 3-point line back when you were at BYU, but were you always pretty decent shooter, or did that develop over your NBA career?
I feel like I've always been a good shooter. When I came in the league, just didn't know if I was expected to be a shooter. But like a 3-point shot. I remember being with the Jazz, 84, 85. I think I was with the Jazz, or maybe it was the year before when Darrell Griffith made the most 3-pointers in '96. I think it was. I mean, he made 96 3-pointers. And that was unbelievable. People, whoa, look at that. It's incredible how many he's making. And then it just took off. And,
I think Steph Curry made over 2 years ago.
Yeah. But I just, when I got to Milwaukee, Del Harris, the style of the team, the playing, Del Harris says, "Hey, we work hard to get open shots. You got an open shot. We expect you to shoot it." And that's the first time I've ever had a professional coach tell me anything like that. And so I just, if I could get spotted up, get my feet under me, I feel like I could make shots, and just had some opportunities there in Milwaukee to do
that. Do you play any pickup now at all with friends, or I know you have a career in education? Do you play with any students from time to time, or have you retired completely?
I still like to go out and shoot on my own occasionally, and then I will play with some of the high school. There's our team. I coach our junior high team over at school, and I'll get in and run with them a little bit, and run with the other coaches.
Yeah.
We had a big alumni game last spring, BYU guys, for a fundraiser. It was actually for my granddaughter who has leukemia, and so they make a wish. We did a big fundraiser, so I played then, and that was a lot of fun. But I'm pretty good by myself.
Yeah.
But when we get out there and people move around, I'm not near as good. And it takes me, after that game, it took me 4 or 5 days to be able to walk normal. I just remember I was laying in bed. I couldn't, everything. everything I hurt. I had cramps behind my knees. Never had that ever before, and it was rough. It's really different. But I have a goal. I'm 57 now, and my goal is to be able to dunk it at 16. So I got to stay in some kind of condition so I can do that. And,
Oh, wow.
it won't be very pretty, but I think I'll be able to do it.
Touched briefly on it a moment ago about your teaching career. Was that something that had always been in the back of your mind whenever you were going to retire from basketball, that you wanted to get into education?
No, not at all. I think I've always been curious about education. With our kids, we've actually done some homeschooling. We've been quite involved in their education, and
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that. It was fun. But when we moved back here to Utah from Milwaukee, I just kind of fell into it. We sent our kids go to this private school over here, and they said they needed a 7th grade teacher, and
Mm-hmm.
said, well, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I did, and I wasn't very good,
Mm-hmm.
and then I wasn't very good, so they moved me into administration.
Mm-hmm.
They moved me right into being the director. I guess that's what
Wow.
happens when you're not a good teacher. They make you principal or something.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, so I did that for 5 years, and then they decided they wanted to get serious with their school, and they brought in somebody who's a little bit more qualified. But then I saw this opportunity at the school I'm at now. This is my 10th year,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, it's a good job. I'm not going to make a ton of money, but I get my summers, and
Mm-hmm.
it's fun to work with the kids. So it's been a good place for me. Especially, I think finally after 10 years, I'm settled in it. I've always wanted to get back into basketball in some role.
Mm-hmm.
I scouted for the Bucks for a few years, and really enjoyed that. Loved that.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, it was fun. But
Mm-hmm.
as a scout, you're gone every night, and we had
Yeah.
young kids, and I thought, I'm not going to do that. And
Sure.
so I did. I was hoping to get into basketball somehow. Didn't happen, and now I'm feeling pretty settled with the teaching. I feel like I can do it. It's something. It's not easy, but you get those breaks. You get some nice breaks.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really appreciate it. Like I said, as you were my first guest for this Lakers podcast, so I hope I was able to ask you some good questions and make this worth your while.
Well, it's fun. I hope you do well. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. And one guy I talked to occasionally was George Lynch. He'd be a great guy for you to contact.
Oh yeah, I've emailed with him previously a few years ago. I was able to get some stuff signed by him because he was actually in Dallas working for SMU, and I'm local in the Dallas area.
Is he still there?
I don't know. So he was working with Larry Brown when Larry Brown was the coach at SMU, and he quit, about a year or so ago. And I don't know if he's hung on with the new staff or not, but definitely I completely forgot that I had some contact with him previously. So thank you.
Yeah, I think he's still there, and he'd be a lot of fun to talk to, and good guy. And it was great fun playing. I enjoyed playing with those guys. Great to be in LA, having the experience of the two top teams with the Celtics and Lakers time, those two organizations. I was going to tell you that when they brought in Shaquille and
Mm-hmm.
Kobe the next year, Jerry West called me in the summer, and he said, "Fred, we'd like to have you back, but Shaquille wants all your money."
Oh yeah.
He says he wants my minimum salary.
He wanted everything, I guess.
He wants everything. He wants every bit of money that's out there that's available.
Oh man.
We're not going to have you back.
No.
All
That's
right.
funny. Well, yeah, Shaq's the reason I'm a Lakers fan. When I started following basketball, was his last year in Orlando, and he was my favorite player. Then I kind of just followed him to the Lakers, and I've been a Lakers fan ever since. So,
no kidding! Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, our family's
Yeah.
dog is named Shaq.
well, you are a fan. Good for
Yeah.
you.
Cool. Well,
Well,
again,
that's
thank you
good.
for your time. Really appreciate it. Hope everything goes well with your school career, and hope you can still dunk at 60.
All right. I hope to let you know. Well, if I can, I will let you know.
All right,
And
sounds good.
if I can't, I won't be in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks
All
again
right.
for.
Thanks, Jeff.